Sweet surrender as I love, serve, and remember.
If you're going through any challenges in your life, that is a song to listen to. It's going to be on our YouTube channel. So, oh no, I don't know if it's on Facebook. I don't know. Somewhere you can listen to that again. And then it's a song by Karen Drucker, so you can look it up. And it's thank you, Michelle, for blessing us. That was gorgeous. And essential to remember, no matter what, doesn't have to be a dark night of soul, any challenging, just to constantly remember there's only love. How many of you like winter? Most of you. For some of you, is winter your favorite season? Who is it for winter a favorite season? Okay, so we have one hand for that. Rock and roll. It's not my favorite season either. Spring is my favorite season. But my mom's favorite season was winter. And this month I've been sharing various things I've learned from her. And I thought, as maybe you heard last week, she has a very gregarious personality, so it'd be odd that she likes winter so much. What she likes about winter is, you're clicking, what she loves about winter, many things, but is the beauty. That when did any of you grow up in snow? Oh, see, yeah. And so it just covers in blankets, and it's beautiful, and it's quiet. There's just this peace that descends upon you. I grew up in the snow country in Cleveland, Ohio, right on the Lake Erie cold front. We had snow 5 months out of the year, from November to March. It was pretty much covered with snow. And one of the things I had to adjust to was loudness. Like, there was never a quiet season. I remember telling Jack, there's no quiet season. I keep waiting for it, and it doesn't happen. That there's that place of peace that it just naturally gives to you. I also lived in Boston, where there wasn't a lot of snow. It was right on the water, the actual city of Boston. And so we didn't get a lot of snow, but it was bitter cold. And that was a huge difference between the biting cold without snow. Sorry. Thank you. The biting cold without snow, and then the winter with snow. And that, I'm bringing that up for a reason. I'll get back to that. So just the winter season. When we think of the dark night of the soul, what is the dark night of the soul? So I was contemplating it, and one of the ways to understand it is to start with what it's not. So the dark night of the soul isn't when you're seeking and you can't find something, you're longing, and that longing is driving you. You're looking for a spiritual teacher, you're looking for a spiritual path, you're looking for something, a job, a relationship, that it's uncomfortable and it makes you unhappy, but you feel this drive forward. That is not the dark night of the soul. The dark night of the soul is not depression. The dark night of the soul isn't grief or sadness. The dark night of the soul is not a healing trauma. It's not any of those things. The dark night of the soul happens when you've already spent a lot of time on whatever you're doing. So whatever your vocation is, you've spent years at it, and you have a certain level of mastery at it. And it's the same with the spiritual path. It's not, you don't have dark night of the soul when you're first on the spiritual path. It's, you've been living that spiritual journey for years, and you have a certain level of mastery. And then suddenly everything just becomes empty. There's nothing there. That everything that you used to turn to make you feel connected, to guide you, to lead you, to fill you, to heal you, it's all gone. Even that beautiful song, There Is Only Love, when you're in the dark night of the soul, you can hear the words, but you can't necessarily connect with it at the way you used to connect it. Everything all that level that you've done of mastery, it's like empty. It can be like the desert, or it can be like the winter. An example of it is a friend of mine when I first was talking with them, they were a management consultant, They just started the career. They were excellent at it. They loved it. I remember talking with them, and he said, you know, you have to find, I was in college at the time, he said, you have to find a career you love because you're going to be thinking about it all the time. You don't just think about it when you're at your job. It fills you. So make sure you find something that you love to think about, that you love to contemplate. And so then he's telling me all about what he does and as a man, and he clearly loves it, and he's very successful at it. I saw him years later, and we're talking, and out of the blue, he just brings up, oh, I'm just so done with this job. But it wasn't the job he was done with. He still liked the people. There was nothing that bad that happened. What happened was he had gotten to a certain level of mastery, and it had become boring and empty. He says, I walk in, I meet with the client, I know exactly, he goes, I've been doing this for so long now, I know exactly what needs to happen. It's like becoming rote. I'm just doing it, but there's no joy, there's no life. It has become a lifeless experience for me. That is when you know you're beginning to enter into the dark night of the soul. It becomes lifeless. A relationship can be like that. A relationship that you loved and was so full and even drama. It's still, with drama, you're engaged. This is when you're not even engaged, where it's just lifeless. It's not bad, it's not good, it's just lifeless. It's like dead in the water. And that is the connection with the winter season. When the winter season happens, you've reached fall, you've had the fulfillment, you've had the harvest, you've done it all. And now you're in winter, and there's nothing happening. All the leaves are off the tree, everything's just done. And nothing is happening. And when you live in Cleveland, nothing is happening for 5 months. It can get depressing. So I was always impressed that my mom thought that was her favorite season. She liked all seasons, but it takes a certain personality to love winter. But what she loved about it was she always had so much life in her. And so I think it calmed her down a little bit, all that snow. But when you're in the dark night of the soul, that winter season, just the pure harshness of it, the coldness of it, because it is cold, it's brutal. You don't feel anything. So it's like being in Boston. It was a cold winter, but there was no snow to cover you up and give you a little bit of peace when you're going through it. It was just brutal. And that's what the dark night of the soul can be like, whether you're in a job. So when I saw my friend again, it was again years later, and they now completely had a new life. They were still doing their work, but they recreated it, created their own company with their friends, so they weren't doing it by themselves, and they were doing exactly what they wanted, and has been doing it ever since, and is fully alive and loves it. New life came from that dead period, but during that dead period, so here's why it makes it so hard, why winter season is so hard, is you don't know what's coming. You don't know what that new life looks like. And unlike winter, it's not a prescribed period of time. When I'm living in Cleveland, I know generally when it's going to come. When I'm living in another city, I know generally the weather patterns have changed dramatically, but in the old days, you generally knew when it was going to come to an end. When you're in the dark night of the soul, you have no idea when it's coming to an end because you don't feel any of that same intuitive knowing. That's what makes it so brutal. You're in this flat land of nothingness. All the stuff you once knew, you're not sure you know anymore. Nothing makes sense, and the worst is, for me, was not knowing when it was going to end or if it was going to end. And when I went through the dark night of the soul, I didn't know I was in the dark night of the soul. I didn't know what was happening. The first time I saw a spiritual dark night of the soul was when I was at Agape, and I had a conversation with Reverend Michael, and it was just the two of us, and he started sharing things that surprised me, and in retrospect, I realized, he was fully in the dark night of the soul. But here's the interesting thing. Because the dark night of the soul can last for years, for me, it lasted 2 going on to 3 years. I don't have how long it was. It was quite a time. You're still living life. So I'm watching Reverend Michael knowing that there's all this stuff going inside of him. I shouldn't even, well, I don't know. I never asked him this, but I don't know the details, but it was clear there was something that was empty that he just couldn't generate. But at the same time, he's given amazing talks as always. He's teaching. The Agape is moving from Santa Monica to Culver City. We're paying 3 rents. There's so much happening. People have to call in to figure out where the services is because it's changing every single week. It's just like chaos everywhere. He's getting requests to be a speaker, a full-time speaker, and to leave I mean, there's so much happening in his exterior life. But inwardly, dark night of the soul. So you can still have all this stuff, relationship issues, work issues, all these different issues, but when you're in the dark, you still have to face it because you're living life. A dark night of the soul can go on for quite some time. But that inner emptiness, and it's so hard because nobody can solve it for you. We talk so much about reaching out for support. No one can tell you what's happening. No one can help you other than pray for you. But even the comfort, I love, when I read Michael's chapter on the dark night of the soul, I'm like, oh my gosh, check, check, check. I didn't know what the dark night of the soul was, but so the dark night of the soul is an experience that's across time and space, across cultures, across spiritual practices, paths, whatever your path is. There comes a time, if you've been doing it for a long time, it's just going to become empty. And I'm sharing this with you because there's some people who've in this community who've been on the spiritual path for quite some time. Now, it could be just for like a month. There's just a shift that needs to happen, and you just need to have a little bit of quiet time, a little bit of like nothingness to allow this new idea to happen. And sometimes it can last years, and you don't know when you're going into it. Although, if it's just a month, you might not even realize, oh, you can look in retrospect. Oh, I was in the dark night of the soul. I didn't know it at the time. And a month isn't too long. I made this shift, and life is good. I'm going to explain why we have to go through the dark night of the soul on this journey. And I've shared it a little bit, but I want to go a little bit more detail because I'm telling you this for 2 reasons. One, if you've already been on it, it might be helpful just to hear it. You might already know. If you're on it now, it's nice sometimes to feel seen and gotten. And for me, because I didn't know much about the dark night of the soul, no one had ever talked to me about it. When I went through it, I didn't know what was happening. So even if that hasn't been an experience yet, it may be down the line for you, and then when it happens, hopefully you'll remember. And again, I'm talking about spiritually, but it could be on anything that you've achieved a certain level of mastery on, and you've been doing for years and years and years and years and years and years, and you've developed, like, I know this, and I know that I know this, and it just, everything is empty, but you have no other direction to go in. You don't know what way to go. It's winter season. So everybody here has gone through a winter season in some form or way, in a relationship and whatever, in your job and money and health. I'm primarily speaking right now on the spiritual dark night of the soul. By the way, dark night of the soul was a phrase coined by St. John of the Cross. He has a book called Dark Night of the Soul, but it is something that happens on the spiritual path no matter what your path. So back in the early 32 years ago, I remember very clearly I had a dream, and in that dream I was in an Eastern Orthodox church. I didn't know it was an Eastern Orthodox church until someone told me, and it was just, I was madly in love. And when I woke up and I found out what Eastern Orthodox church, I'm like, oh, heck no. Stay away from that. I grew up in a free-thinking family, world-centric. We were always talking about what was for everybody. There was no lines, they are better than they are better. No, everybody counted. Everyone was equal. All religious paths were good, if a little bit stupid. Like my family's agnostic, atheist. But, you know, there was respect for it, for all paths. There wasn't like this either-or thing. As I continued to grow, and the church I went to was very liberal, open-minded. They had all open to everything. Then on my path, I have Yogananda as a teacher. What's the first thing I learn about Yogananda? I go into Lake Shrine, and there's statues to all the world's religions, and there's quotes. He spends his life visiting spiritual masters and all different teachings. He's wide open. Shunwa Suzuki, my other teacher, he's Zen Center. He comes into the 60s in the Haight-Ashbury. He's all these hippies people coming in. He's open to it all. So everything that I've been doing, and of course Center for Spiritual Living, everything that I've done is wide open. Let me explain to you Orthodox Christianity, the exterior, their religious point of view. Jesus is the only way, and not only Jesus the only way, the way we teach Jesus is the only way. So anything that isn't Orthodox Christian is heretical. So Catholics, Christians, not even to mention all the other religions. It is just so, it's like getting a chokehold. I mean, it's just like, no, it's everything. I mean, I'm over here, and it's like, it's horrible to me. I'm like, why would I even give it the time of day? It's like, so that, and you know, anyone who knows me, I can be fairly passionate about my opinions, and I was pretty clear I was right about this one. So there was no way, there was not even a little inkling of a space that was going to allow anything from that religion to enter me, because I thought it was cruel and harmful, and hurt people. It's anti-everything. That isn't them. That isn't their belief. So I get to, and one of the things, so I'm following spirit in all these different ways, and one of the things, learning integral theory, and if I hadn't learned, so anyway, so I learn it all, I'm doing it all, and then I get to this point where it all becomes empty. Everything I've done, I'm not drawn to anything I've done in the past, and I've done it for decades. And I'm still a minister, I'm still a mom taking care of Julie, I have all the external stuff going on, but nothing. I even went to a therapist, as an integral therapist. That made it worse. That even really sent me into the dark night. But I didn't know I was in the dark night, so I'm trying to figure out. And one of the things, I love the chapter when I was reading Spiritual Liberation. Again, I didn't know it at the time, but checking it all off, and one is like, is this whole God thing real? No matter how much God I experienced, or how much I experienced God is love and everything's there, when I was in that, I'm like, is that all just made up? Like, everything started to feel unreal. Like, this was just... And it went on, and it went on. And I could still, I know, I've lived it enough. I can still live it externally, but there was nothing happening internally. It is brutal. One of the other things he points to is that people, no matter how much you explain it, people can't understand it. Well, why don't you do this? Or why? There's no fix-it. There's no fix-it for it. That is what makes it so painful. And because I didn't know there was an end to it, I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know if there was going to be an end. So this is the first one. There's an end to it. When it finally did come, it came first through the book of Brother Lawrence, Practicing the Presence, just this little monk in the kitchen, practicing seeing God in everything and everyone all of the time. It was beautiful. And I just remember reading it. And it was just like this little light started sparkling. I'm in Starbucks. This guy who works with the homeless said, I think you might like this book. And I'm reading it, and I'm reading it really slowly because it's the first light I have felt in over 2 years. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. The book's over. And someone else comes into Starbucks and hands me another book. And I didn't know it, but it was about Orthodox Christian, but I didn't care at this point. This is what pain does to you. All my opinions, everything I thought, it's all been neutralized. So I just read it. I don't have much reaction at first. It's like Christian stuff, have values. I'm like, okay, I'm reading it. But then suddenly it starts describing these monks, not through the point of their theology, but through their embodiment of the Christ. And it's extraordinary. And I'm like, oh, this is what I've been looking for. All these years I've been looking for it. I had dreamed about it 30 years ago, and in retrospect, it had shown up, but I was so shut off because of for good reason, the external picture. I could not see it. There was nothing that was going to make me available to take in what I was reading, except for 2 or 3 years of total torture. I needed such a long fallow period to even begin to welcome this new idea. That has sustained me for many years since. Not the external religious part, but this profound, deep inner spirituality that I wasn't getting anyplace else. And nothing else felt alive compared to it. And I couldn't explain it. I couldn't understand it. All I knew is, yes, this is what's feeding my soul. So when we go through these dark nights of the soul, what we need to remember is it's always for our highest good. We are not being tortured for, like, God's getting a kick out of this. It's because we are so loved, and it can see where we're going, and it can see that we're not quite ready for yet, so it's preparing the ground, the soil. In the winter time, when you plant a bulb, my dad used to shovel all the snow away and plant these bulbs really deep and then put the snow back on. You can't see what's happening underground, but there's a lot happening underground. So when spring comes, it can come out, but you can't see it. You can't feel it. But it's happening, and it's going to create beauty in the spring, and maybe beauty that you've never seen before. A whole new way of seeing that you've never seen, and you can't plan it. Nobody can tell you. Nobody could have said, oh, you would like, if they come even a year earlier with those books, I'd be like, throw it over. In fact, I did. It's kind of cool. I had a friend, she went to Harvard Divinity School, and she gave me the book, The Way of the Pilgrim, which is about an Orthodox Christian, but it's all spiritual practices. I said, that's very nice, thank you. And there was a UCC church at the time on College Avenue, so I donated the book to them. 10 years later, we ended up at College Avenue, and there's the book waiting for me. It's amazing. So it's always there. It's always loving us. It's always guiding us. But sometimes we need to get our inner world reworked so we are available to it. And that's what the dark night of the soul is. It's reworking us so we can become even happier and even more fulfilled on our journey. It's a beautiful process, just like spring. That's why spring's my favorite. I love seeing the beauty of spring, the new life. But there's a lot of life happening. In fact, that life in spring cannot happen without the winter. It just cannot happen if we just don't sometimes, and it wasn't intentional, but it's like letting go of everything that we think we know. It's what Reverend Michael was saying about being humble, about saying, oh, we think we know a lot, but there was so much I didn't know, and I didn't know that I didn't know. That's what the dark night is working us through. What's interesting to me, when I came upon this topic for Sunday, is I couldn't, for the life of me, figure out why I picked this as a topic. I was talking about things my mom taught me. She never taught me anything about the dark night of soul. She never seemed to go through a dark night of soul. She was always happy. I couldn't figure out why did I even make this a topic. I don't remember what my thinking was. And I've several thoughts. One is I think in some way what our country and our world is in now is a dark night of soul. I think there's a lot of blaming, because ultimately we feel helpless. There's a powerlessness to the dark night of the soul. And that's the part that hurts so much. We are such an empowered world. And we're like, there's got to be something we can do. And people are trying stuff, but it all feels like nothing's working. That's what happened when I was on the dark night of the soul. You try these different things, but nothing is working. It's all just flat. And we blame because we can't, how can this be happening? It doesn't make sense. We should be able to stop this. We seem to be tearing down our rules of law, our Constitution. At least this is my perspective. I don't speak on anyone's behalf. I'm not speaking for our board or anyone else. I'm just speaking personally. That it feels like our country's falling apart. The structure and the beliefs are all falling to pieces. Why can't somebody stop it? Somebody stop it. And we point fingers, why aren't you stopping it? Why aren't you stopping it? But when you're in the dark night of the soul, there's something that won't let us stop it, even when we want to. And so what I wonder, I don't have the big picture, but I wonder is if there's something so deeply being reworked underground that we can't see, but it is being worked on. That though it looks like nothing is happening externally that's good, seems so much is bad, the faith, and that's why we continue. The whole time I was in the dark night of the soul, I never stopped doing my spiritual practices, ever. Even though I didn't feel them, even though I wasn't getting the juice from them I used to get from them, it was all empty. I never stopped showing up. That we have a calling, I believe, to never stop showing up, even when it doesn't feel like we're seeing the external manifestation, when it seems a little bit hopeless, a little bit powerless. If at any time in our life we had the knowing, and we know that the divine love intelligence is the source of everything that's happening on this earth, that there is something deeper that we cannot see that is being formulated, and our job is to stay connected to that even when we can't feel it ourselves, even when we may be in fear, when we may be empty, when we're not getting the juice we normally get, we continue to show up for those spiritual principles day after day after day, because there's going to be a time when all that stuff that's happening underneath is going to start popping up. And we want to be able to see it and recognize it when it happens. We want to have the eyes to see and go, oh. We make ourselves available for when it needs to show up. We prepare our own ground because something good is happening. I truly believe that. I believe we're in a dark night of the soul. It's powerless, helpless, it's scary. There are people who are fighting, and it's not, like I said, when Reverend Michael's going through his dark night of the soul, he's still having to do all this stuff externally and working out money and doing, it's not like you stop living. You're living, you're still participating, you're still doing the stuff that you need to do, and it's challenging and difficult, and you show up, but underneath you just feel like this sense of, no, I still feel powerless and empty and lost, even though I'm doing all this external stuff. But something's happening. Something's happening underneath. And to walk in faith. And when I started thinking about one of the things my mom taught me was when my brother was giving this he became a Harvard lawyer, a brilliant exposition of why God did not exist, and it all made sense to me, and it freaked me out. And I went running into the kitchen to tell my mom, Mom, George is saying God doesn't exist, and my mom looks at me and she says, Harriet, a faith that can't stand up to questioning is not much of a faith. Best thing she ever gave me, because it allowed me to question my own beliefs. Is God loving? How do you have so much pain in this world? And it's not just now. There's always been pain. There's always been suffering. It has never stopped. Let's not be under the illusion. In the glory days, there was no pain. There's always been pain. There's always been suffering. How could a loving God do that? Is God really loving? Is God really all-powerful? All those great questions, I stopped feeling fear to ask those questions. So when I went into the dark night of the soul, though I could not feel anything, and I was uncertain if any of this God stuff was real or true, I still walked in faith because I had developed a habit pattern of faith. So the question you can ask yourself, well, first I just got to give you a little funny story about, ask yourself what you have faith in. There's this funny little video. Julian and I were watching it yesterday. It's in Maine. It's a family, and they have a fan. You see, for those, I don't know if you can see on camera, the fans that twirl around. So this family tied a rope to a string, and then they had it go a certain length, and they tied a bottle, an empty bottle, plastic bottle on it, and then they turned the fan on. Then they took this daughter, she looked like she's in her 20s or 30s, and then her dad, and they put blindfolds on them. And then they turned, and they had to figure out when to duck. And if they didn't duck, they got smacked by the bottle. And it was so funny because the girl kept getting smacked, but she started finally figuring out when to duck. But the father, who's also blindfolded, was like, what's going on? This doesn't make sense. And he just keeps getting smacked. But he keeps arguing like he doesn't, and everyone's yelling, duck! And he's like, but this isn't right because, and I thought, isn't that funny? It's like blind faith. Blind faith isn't bad if it's based on, even if you're getting a sense of it. She couldn't see, but she was finally figuring out. She still couldn't see it, but getting that feeling tone of when to duck. He argued and fought the whole time, and he just kept getting hit. And it was laughing hysterically because you're just like, duck! But he was a really good arguer. The snow quiets us down. The snow says, let's stop arguing. Let's stop fighting. I'm not saying don't resist and all that stuff. I'm just saying internally, for our own interior world, when you are going through a dark night of the soul, when you are confused, you don't know what's happening, you don't feel connected, you don't see where you're going, rather than keep fighting it, because I didn't know this piece, instead of keep fighting it, get quiet. Let yourself be covered with the softness of snow, this peace of snow, and just be still during that dark night. Yes, you still have things to do, but stop trying to fight your way out of the dark night because you can't do it. He could argue all he wanted, but he kept getting hit by the water bottle. But the blind, I was thinking about this idea of blind faith, and there is an element of blind faith. We can't see. None of us here, I don't think anyone on the planet knows what's going to happen a year from now, 5 years from now, or 10 years from now. None of us knows. We have hopes. We hope this. We get despair. I hope it's not that. We have all these things, but we can't see. We are blind to what's happening in the future. We have a blindfold on. But when we start to really learn what it is to live by faith, and that even faith when you can't see it, even when you have faith when you can't feel it, because that's what the dark night, you can't even feel it. People around you can't even make you feel it. You're in that place of the desert of emptiness, and it feels like it's never going to end, but you have developed this skill of faith based on past experiences, based on what you know. You keep showing up. So the deepest thing I would invite you during any time of dark night of the soul, and there's so many different versions from the month dark of the soul, or just struggles that you're going through, is really be clear of what do I have faith in, even if I can't feel it, even if I'm not seeing it demonstrated externally. What do I have a faith in? No matter what, I am going to show up and live my life according to what I believe, even if I can't feel it. That is a profound faith, and it has some wisdom to it, because remember, dark night of the soul doesn't happen when you're new on the journey. You've been living this journey, so there's things that you know, even though you don't feel it, you know that you know that you know. Faith is standing in that you know, and what you know. So what do you have faith in? Have faith, and just allow yourself to be with what's happening. It's so hard. We talk about in healing things, we want to fix it, but what do we learn just about internal healing? We just have to be with the pain of it, with the discomfort of it. We have to just let it be. And again, I'm not saying in the external world we're not taking action, but internally, there is a surrender and say, I just have to let this be for now because I can't get what's going on. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to respond. And rather than keep fighting, I'm just going to let it be. I'm going to be in that stillness. I'm going to trust that there is a presence that is always good, that is always for not just me, but for the entire planet. I am going to steep myself in that faith, believing, and rest in that, and not move, and I don't mean having to do the daily stuff because you're still living, but not move from the depth of my soul until I know that I know that I know. And you will know, because the spring always comes, the sun always rises, there's always new life that we could have never, ever, ever seen or planned for or made happen, but it's there, and it's happening now for all of us, for this whole country and this world. There's something beautiful happening. I absolutely know that I know that I know that, even though I can't see any of it. I see some of it. You with me? You know what? I feel that. Because we all know what it's like. And we all know that we're loved all the time, even when we can't feel it, that there is a presence. So let's just go into prayer. That there is a beautiful presence that is always at work. It never stops. That good, that love, even when we can't see it or feel it or understand it, or it doesn't make sense. We don't know where we're going. We don't have any vision. We're lost. And yet, there's something at the very depth of our soul, of our being, that knows, that it knows, that it knows, that no matter what we are experiencing humanly, God, this infinite love intelligence, is real. It is the all power of the entire cosmos, and it is the all power of each and every one of us individually. That there is a love so much greater than we could ever possibly imagine. That when we're in those dark nights, we can't see it, we can't even imagine it, and yet we know, and we know that this love is guiding us in a way that we trust, we have faith in, we surrender to, we allow this reworking of our consciousness. We allow this deep inner soul and the depths of our being. We give it space to shift and to grow something new. Allow those seeds to take root within us. We create the tender space for ourselves with the warmth, with the stillness, with the peace, with the quiet. We make room for, we create space for this new life. For we are each and every one of us that divine mother, holding us all. Every time we return into that dark night, we are returning to the womb of the mother, where it is dark and things are happening and we can't see what our new life is going to be. But we know that when we are in the womb of the mother, as we are right now, collectively, in this beautiful, beautiful world, we are in the womb of the mother, trusting that she is giving us the things that we need and feeding us during this reworking of new life. And that when it is ready, when that beautiful new life is ready to be birthed, in all of the love in which she has held us in this beautiful womb of love, of wholeness, of giving us all needs met, we are birthed into a new way of seeing. We are birthed into a new state of consciousness. We are birthed into a new life. And we hold and we walk in faith that for the entire time we are in this womb, something good, extraordinary, beautiful is happening. And so we trust her. We trust the Divine Mother. We trust this time. We let go. We let God. And we let it be. In deep abiding gratitude, we say, and so it is. Amen and amen.
I walk in God in all